How you doing, guys? Welcome to another session. So today we're going to pick up on what we've done previously, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on air moves. So an air move would be something like an around the world or a crossover. I'm going to show you some of the air moves that I can do now, which are a little bit more advanced. They've taken me years to master and get used to, but you can learn them with practice. So let me show you a few examples. So you've got your crossovers, reverse crossovers. So we're going to learn that in this session. Just kidding. Like I say, it takes time, but it all starts with the fundamentals of kickups and ball control, and then getting used to the technique. With any trick like around the world, it does require speed, but I think a lot of people get confused and think it's only speed. In fact, it's probably more technique than speed, but I'll explain that as the session goes on. But first, guys, get your ball ready. We're going to get warmed up. We're going to do a few ground moves just to get you limbered up and ready to learn some skills. So with your ball in front of you, we're just going to start off with the sole of the foot, and we're actually going to base some of our skills in the first part of the session around the hocus move, where you take the ball from one side to the other. But first we'll get used to the sole as we've done in previous sessions, just by tapping on top of the ball, and then we're going to slowly build up that speed, get your arms involved, and just start moving the ball. Sorry, start moving your body, and the ball should fall out. And then you can start to move around if you want to. Little tiny touches on top. Keep your head up. Move around. If you want to do a little side step behind, you can do that one as well. You can start to mix it up. Just get yourself ready, get your touches on the ball. Again, we'll just go to the insides now. So inside to inside, nice and tight with those control touches. Head up if you can. If you've got the space at home, you can move around as well. If you fancy a challenge, you can throw in that little Ronaldo hop behind, or chop, should I say. Chop behind the leg, and then bring back. Or you can just simply stick to your touches just to get used to the ball. Well done. All right, we'll go insides. We'll go soles to the sides now. Nice and wide with those touches. Nice and wide. And then eventually we're going to take ourselves up onto our toes. Always focus on your control. Keep that ball close to your body. Maybe start to move forward and backwards if you've got the space. Head up as well if you can. Well done, guys. Okay, hold it there. So first skill of the day is called the Elastico. Now, players nowadays do it. Players like Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar Jr. does it all the time. Before him, I'd say Ronaldinho was a master at this. A player called JJ Okocha, who was from Nigeria, but he played for Bolton Wanderers for quite a few years in the Premier League. In fact, he once did a rainbow flick of Ray Parlour's head, who played for Arsenal. So check that out, maybe do a bit of research. But these guys are so skillful, but the Elastico was kind of one of the fundamentals of the tricks that they would do in a game. But the move actually came back to, well, supposedly, when you read into history, the move actually originated in 1970 from a Brazilian player called Rivellino. And what he would do is take the ball to the outside and then bring it back. And obviously in the game of football, nobody had ever seen that before. It was like completely new, completely fresh, and it completely threw defenders. They didn't know what to do. So the Rivellino elastic is the original elastic, or Elastico, as they call it in Brazil. And now players call it the hocus, the flip-flap. It's just a double move to take the defender one way and back the other. And there's loads of them now, but it all originates from the man Rivellino from Brazil, and this is how you do it. So it's not too difficult to do the basic one. You're just going to take the ball to the outside and then bring it back and stop. So to start with, solo your foot like we've been doing our taps, but just take it to one side. And then what will happen is as you move the ball to one side, naturally your foot will come down and move the ball back the opposite way. And like I was saying about these touches being nice and wide, the wider you can take your first touch to the outside, the better and the more effective the skill will be. So you're going to go out to the side, back in, and then stop. And I think this is a really nice practice to do while you're on your toes. So you do an elastico, stop it, elastico, stop it. But this whole time, you're moving the ball, you're moving your body, and you're getting used to the skill. So start off really slow, and then build up the speed until eventually we can do the skill on our toes. Out to the side, stop, out to the side, stop, out to the side, stop. Okay, off you go, guys. We'll do a little bit of training on this one, just a few minutes, then we're going to move it on. If you fancy a challenge, go try it with your opposite side. So I'm going to do a few with my left now. Whoop. Need to work on the left. To the side. A nice thing to do is probably work in threes. So if I'm working on a skill, I'll probably do 3 on one side and then 3 on the other, just to balance yourself out. So remember, sole of the foot as far out as you can. Really exaggerate that movement and then back. Awesome, guys. Okay, let's reverse that now. So the reverse elastico would be the exact same skill, but we go the opposite way. So we approach the ball, but this time we go to the inside and then push out to the outside. And it's exactly the same. Do the skill, bring it back, and then we'll repeat again. Do the skill, bring it back, and repeat again. So skill, back, repeat, back. Okay, I'm going to go onto my opposite side now. So my left foot, inside and then out. Remember, nice and wide. To exaggerate the skill. Keep that body moving. Maybe go to the 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Awesome, guys. Okay, hold it there. So that is our, let's call it basic elasticos, and that's the fundamental of the move. But any move that takes the defender one way and then immediately back the other way will be classed as an aka or an elastico. Here's a slightly more advanced one, and we're actually going to do it from the skill that we've done before that goes like this. I always call it the triangle because you're going to go behind like a triangle. But what we're going to do now is as you bring the ball back, in this position, you're going to do a double touch. Some people know this as the hocus pocus. It's a cool name, right? Don't know where it comes from, but it is an aka, it's an elastico. So this is how the move works. You're going to push the ball. So when you're in this position, you're going to push it one side and then back the other. Let me show you from this angle. Might be a bit nicer. So you're going to go here, here, and then here. So if you look at my feet behind, so the drag here, touch, touch, and then through. So the drag here, as we come back to your time, push, push, and then off in the opposite direction like this. So have a go at that one. Just walk it through. If you want to do it without the drag, you can do straight out like that. But it ties really nicely into having the ball under your foot, because if the defender's trying to come and get it from you, you don't want to be stood like that because they can tackle you. So if you've got the ball under your foot, you can move it whichever way you want and then navigate the ball wherever you want. So just think about that. So ball in front of you, you're going to go back, across, push, and then back again. Fun. focus on your technique though. Don't worry about getting it like crazy fast. If you've not got the technique, just make sure that you really master the ball going nice and wide. So wide to the side and then back. Blah. And once you've got the gist of it, what you can start to do is maybe do it from a dribble. So doing it from a dribble, you would take away that first drag back and you would just do the move like that. So you'll move forward, you'll be dribbling forward. I'm not really demonstrating it well because I've not got much space, but if you had a cone in this area here, you would dribble up to it, do the move, and then push off like this. So you dribble up to it, dribble up to it, do the move, and then move off into the space. Only do that if you have the space and if you feel comfortable. But in the meantime, you can just practice it on the spot and bring the ball back. So on the spot, bring the ball back. Okay, one more Elastico, guys. We are going to mix in the first one we did into a step over. In fact, this is a mixture of what we did from our inside touches, where we let the ball go behind. It's like this. What we're going to do is push out to the outside, and then when it comes back in, you're going to let it come behind this leg. Let me show you from this angle. It might be a bit easier to see what's going on. So out, and then shield with your body by doing the step over. So we're going to go here, back, and behind. So maybe get used to the move again. Bring it back. So it's outside first, and then now you're just going to bring it behind the standing leg. So out, behind the standing leg. Maybe go onto your other side, see if you can do it on that side as well. So out to the side and underneath. Out to the side and underneath. I'll do one from behind just in case you're struggling with the technique. So it's behind this way. So out, behind. Out, behind. Out, behind. And then the more competent you are with it and the more you're getting used to it, you can really jump into it. Really exaggerate that jump and bring the ball back. Such a nice skill to use. And it's a really good turn as well. So a move to beat someone would take you in this direction forward, but you can actually almost do it as a quick turn and go 180 in the opposite direction. So you can start to play around with that as well. All right, guys, fantastic. So some little hocus there for you to practice. But like I've said with like some of my other sessions on here, don't worry about mixing it up. We've covered quite a lot of skills already. So you can maybe add in the skill we did previously where we dragged it into the Elastico, and you can start to actually create your own little freestyle moves by just piecing things together. That's completely up to you. And that's the beauty of freestyle, because anything goes. Just get out and express yourself with the ball. Right, let's get on to some air moves. The around the world is going to be our core skill. Difficult, but I'm going to give you some tips that I'm sure will help. So the around the world, I'll just go over it again, is where the ball is kicked. You go around it and then you catch it again with the same foot. And what I was saying about technique is, it's very important because a lot of players, they'll do this, right? They'll kick it up and then they'll try and go around it. So firstly, they'll kick it too high. And secondly, they'll treat it as two separate movements, where it's actually all one movement. So what's the difference here? So the wrong way of doing the technique would be a big kick and then going around it, whereas the right way would be all in one motion. So you see how low the ball went there, but you'll also notice, you might not be able to see from that distance, but the ball actually spins very slightly because you're going to use your toes to kind of go around it at the same time. And a little we'll call it like a hack that I discovered when I was learning it, was to actually do it from the ground. So rather than going to your kick-ups and do it, because that's very, very difficult, you can actually do the around the world from the floor. So this is how it works. Like that. Now there is still a lot going on there, but I think everyone can give that a try from the ground. So the foot is on top of the ball. And just to note as well, I went to the inside, but you can go to the outside as well. Like you can go that way around and you can go that way around. So outside would look like that. Inside would look like that. And what I'm doing is with the inside, I'm clipping the ball, which creates the spin. I'm clipping it and I'm going round this direction, and that's what creates the spin. So as soon as I flick it, don't worry about catching it straight away. As soon as you flick it, just let it bounce, but try and focus on your technique. It's very important. So here, let it bounce and then go over. And then eventually, as you get better, you can obviously take that bounce away and it becomes a lot more fluid, and that is the actual around the world. But don't be afraid to use a bounce when you're doing it. So here, technique, and then over. If you're struggling with the inside one, maybe try the outside one. I'm just used to doing it the inside way because that's the way I learned it. So I kind of stuck to that a little bit, but I still do practice inside and outside. So just experiment with it. There's another way of doing it. Well, there's loads of ways of doing it, but one really, again, another good way of learning it, which a lot of players do, is from the foot. So rather than the ground, I've done this yesterday. Ball's going to be on the foot like this. So you're going to get your balance and then you're going to do it from there. So again, use your hands just to stable yourself. But the technique is keeping it low and almost spinning that foot around. I find as well with this one, if you hop slightly, it might help you. Because if you're static and you're just like trying to go around it, probably not going to work. So try and be a little bit lighter on your toes, really exaggerate it, slight hop from the back leg, and it'll help you get around that ball. So here, around, and then obviously, eventually what you want to try and get to is catching it on the other side. And I'm going through these quite fast because hopefully you can re-watch it, pause it, and like practice as I'm explaining. But the other really good way of learning it is from tiny, tiny kick-ups. So again, going back to not kicking the ball too high, a lot of players, when they practice kick-ups, they'll maybe go like really high with the touches. And it takes practice to keep it low, but a good way to get around that is to just focus on one leg and just little taps on front of your foot. So you can do it from the ground by flicking it up, but you just want to get those little taps in and almost hop as the ball is being kicked. And what that does is it forces you to keep the ball even lower than normal. In fact, it's way below your knee. It's only moving up like a slight bit. So to start with, it might go all over the place. That's completely normal. But going back to our around the world, this is perfect to maybe throw in and around the world from this. So you'll do your little touches. Whoa, a bit better than that, hopefully. You'll do your little touches. And then as you go around it, use the bounce to start with. Or just focus on keeping that ball super tight to your body. And the other ways are going straight into it from your kick-ups. So you'll be doing your kick-ups and then going into it from there, which I think is a little bit harder. So I would advise to work on the techniques that I've outlined, because that enables you to keep the ball like really tight to your body and go from there. One last skill I'm going to show you, which is an air move before I finish this stream, is just a little sidestep move using the bounce. So around the world, I'd say is a bit harder than this one, but this is another really good one for you to practice. So this time you're going to let the ball bounce, and as it bounces, you're going to come across and flick from behind, like that. So the way I did it then was a half volley. So I'm getting my timing right. And on the half volley, I'm basically pushing it up from the inside of my foot here. But you can let the ball bounce and do it from your heel if you want to. So the first one was all in one go. That's slightly harder, but maybe take your time with it. Do a bounce, a kick, and then a catch from there. Here and here. And then eventually, once you practice your kick-ups, you can do kick-ups before it and then do the skill. So again, guys, bounce, cross, kick, and then catch. All right, thank you for joining me. I think there's a lot of skills in there. Those last two skills, especially around the world, they take a lot of patience and a lot of practice, but they are worth it because they'll help your overall coordination, dexterity with the ball. I mentioned on another feed that this was the skill that took me probably the longest to learn, and it was quite frustrating at times. But once I unlocked it, it enabled me to do like multiple around the world. So if you do want to get good at freestyle or just better your ball control, it's definitely worth doing. And going back to what I've said before, you don't need to do like hours a day. You can just do 5 minutes. 10 minutes would be better, but it doesn't matter. It's more about positive habits of actually getting out and trying something new. So guys, I hope that helped you. Remember, it takes time. So maybe come back to the video, pause it, work on it for 5 minutes, watch it again, and then you'll gradually improve yourself and get better with the ball. So have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again very soon.